here we have the famously racist Steven Crowder with the famously crazy Alex Jones talking about Black Lives Matter. Let's see what two crazy racist people have to say about the lives of black people.
Here we go, Alex Jones on 6th Street. That was once the most happened place here in Austin. By the way, what's the best place for people to find you? Is it still Infowars?
Infowars.com and Band.video.
Band.video.
More important than ever, because with all these doctors they've been banning off the internet for having their speech, all because Dr. Bill Gates says they don't have any speech now. Well, they do have speech still at Band.video. All these doctors.
Okay. Wow, yeah. There we go. Alex Jones already saying something crazy. Doctors are being banned because Bill Gates. No. These doctors are being banned from various social media sites because they're trying to make false claims about a cure or something dealing with COVID-19 when they have not either cured a person or found a cure.
Hundreds of doctors that have been silenced.
Band.video. Now, we did a segment down in Deep Ellum one morning, and I was surprised how everything was boarded up. I was very surprised when we came down here in 6th Street for people, if we can see everything going on. Everything is boarded up.
And you have all the Black Lives Matter Antifa stuff sprayed over it right here.
Right. And if you try and paint over that, or if a business owner does, they can actually be charged with a hate crime. In some cases, it can be actually criminal to wash your own wall.
That's right.
I would like him to cite some type of source claiming that, because that is probably not even true. As we know, Steven Crowder does like to lie and exaggerate in order to push his narrative.
Right now, the George Soros financed communist anti-American propaganda on your property, on your boarded up business.
Wow. There we go. Alex Jones going with the, all leftist movements are funded by George Soros bullshit. It's what a lot of people on the right like to claim, that movements that are about civil rights or equality or something is something funded by George Soros. Even during the Occupy Wall Street and the other Occupy protests, they were supposedly funded by George Soros. Which is funny, if these protests are funded by somebody who has so much control over the government, why are these people attacked the way they are, unlike people who were protesting against wearing a mask?
Is a civil right, and if you paint over it, you get charged with a hate crime.
Yeah, well, there was a business owner who will remain nameless in Dallas who was like, I just cleaned that, and then he just ended up having to leave it up. One guy who we interviewed yesterday when we were doing the Change of Mind said these boards were up for COVID. So can you tell me, is it COVID or is it more so the rioting and breaking the windows?
It was both. When COVID started, really 6 months ago here, some of the big corporations boarded up because they were on the inside baseball that this was going to be a permanent shutdown until Trump was driven from office.
Wow, okay, so these big corporates are in on trying to get Trump removed by pretending that this COVID-19 thing is something real? Or what? Because...
But the smaller businesses tried to stay open, but then the city ordered them closed, but they didn't board up. But then, right after that happened, they activated, when the George Floyd incident happened, the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa, and so they began smashing out windows, and that's when basically everything got boarded up.
Yeah, I mean, almost everything is boarded up.
Well, Black Lives Matter and everybody else got activated after George Floyd. I guess this goes along with the buying of black people for protests. So, when something happens, all these black people that have been paid can go protest and make a distraction for the United States.
Up here. And what's funny is you look at a lot of these places are sort of hipster bars in Austin that would be supportive of this movement. I hate to say it, I kind of think, and I know it's your hometown, sort of deserves to eat itself alive right now.
Well, it does. I mean, I love Austin, what used to be, but now it is the excrement of Los Angeles and San Francisco and Portland and Seattle. All those people have fled here. And so Austin is now the worst parts of the West Coast cultural, spiritual toilet.
Right.
And so this is not Austin. This is now literally the sphincter of the poison blue cities around the country.
Well, that's kind of funny. Austin has become bad because there's a bunch of Democrats living there.
That are now emptying out like rats leaving a sinking ship.
Yeah.
So this is no longer Austin. This is L.A.
Well, here, let's pause for a second. Everyone, well, not pause, but stop moving. Look, we have been some of the only people around. Obviously, we have some other camera folks, security here. It's been nothing but on 6th Street, boards and hobos. It's like Austin is just, the new city motto could just be bum piss.
Well, it used to.
Well, when there's some type of lockdown going on, you're going to experience less people on the streets. I don't know how that is kinda confusing for these people. They're supposed to be these, big-brained intellectuals, yet the idea of there being very little people on the street is confusing for them.
To be the live music capital of the world,
right.
And now it is the capital of bum piss and needles and feces and all sorts of mentally ill people and Antifa and BLM running around burning things down. It's very, very sad. Look, I love Texas.
Well, if it's actually that sad that there's rampant homelessness and stuff going around, why not try to fix it instead of creating a bunch of these conspiracy theories that does nothing, and all that you do is use them to make money off of? If you truly cared, you would actually be doing something. But this is like a typical thing of the right. They pretend to care about homeless people and various other groups of people whenever it is to make the left and such look bad and make the right look better, when in all reality, Alex Jones could care less about a homeless person dying. He would probably be happy.
But I want Texas to know, California used to be red as it can get, and now it is a blue cesspit. So there's this arrogance in red states, like Vermont used to be red, and now it's deep, deep blue.
Yeah.
People better wake the hell up and push back culturally, or the left will take your ass over like quicksand.
As an example of how fast it can change, do you ever see White Christmas with Bing Crosby
Yes.
and Danny Kaye? They say at one point they're talking about getting all of the old army gents together, the general's bed and breakfast.
Yes.
He says, you'd have a better chance at finding a Democrat in Vermont than pulling that off.
I love that old movie. Exactly. It was so right wing. Yeah.
Yeah, the people had no idea that Vermont used to be sort of the place where the wealthy would go and ski. Do you have any idea as to what the number is in property damage here? Crimes? I mean, obviously everyone knows about Garrett Foster. That's what's been going on.
Well, there are conservative numbers, but it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and then it's in the billions.
Wow. I find it funny how they want to talk about property damage. But what about all the money that is paid whenever a cop murders an innocent person and they have to settle or something? There's been billions and billions of dollars paid out for these cops and stuff. Let's talk about that. Or let's talk about the hundreds of lives that have been taken prematurely because a cop was trigger happy, or because a cop was racist and wanted to kill a black person. But with the people on the right, the only thing that matters to them, truly, is property. The lives of everybody else, outside of themselves, does not matter, and all they do is pretend.
Billions just in Central Texas, what the COVID lockdown has done. But no one's really sure of the number because most people have not been able to get the unemployment or get the bailout check.
Yeah.
They spend weeks on those computers, and then by the time they get on it, all the money's gone. So almost everyone I know.
Okay, the bailout money and stuff, that's all on the Trump administration, as they're not adequately providing people with enough money. And then you have Trump messing up the post office with his friend Louis DeJoy, but Alex Jones and Steven Crowder won't talk about that because that will make Trump look bad when you have Trump admitting that he's not funding the post office so that it's harder for people to send their votes through the mail.
Who are, including even middle class people that got laid off or lost their jobs, they've never gotten any of this magical stimulus money.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying hundreds of millions just in Austin? I know it's the number that we found, and it's very hard to find these numbers, and you obviously have a lot more researchers than I do.
Oh, I also gotta say, yeah, a lot of the COVID aid money went to wealthy people. But they also won't talk about that because it would also make Trump look bad as to why wealthy people are getting the majority of the money when it's the poor people that actually need it.
Was $600 million in damage countrywide from the riots. But you're saying you think it's hundreds of millions just in Austin?
I'm talking about what COVID has done with the destruction of the businesses and some of the businesses that got broken into and robbed. So I think you're right. No one knows the actual number, but they're saying Austin, with both things together, has lost billions.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really hard to find some of these numbers. For example, my home state of Michigan, right? They were going to release the COVID nursing home deaths. Well, I think the number at one point they said it was close to 40%, 40-something odd percent of all COVID deaths were nursing home deaths. Then they just stopped counting them. You can't find the updated numbers.
New York's doing the same thing now.
Yeah, and we couldn't get them in Michigan. Governor Whitmer kind of started and never finished.
Absolutely.
But this is...
Are you sure, or is it just because you don't want to keep up anymore? Or are you creating a false narrative to make it seem like something is going on that isn't going on? Okay, I'm gonna end this here. It's probably going on a little bit long enough. I'll finish the rest of this in several parts. As you can see, it's 46 minutes long, and so far all they've done is walk down the street. We'll probably get into the meatier parts later.